Hey guys, so I know I've been posting a lot about real estate, and that type of stuff. And I kind of want to go over my journey, my mindset journey through the years to why I'm pursuing real estate now. And I'm not talking about being a real estate agent. I'm talking about investing, and you know, and the reason why I want to talk about my mindset is because the last conference that I went to was an apartment one, and I had a friend watch it with me, and he watched some of it with me. He didn't watch all 3 days, and he tells me, he's like, I understand what they're saying, and I admire motivation, but I don't I don't understand why I don't have the same mindset as you. So it kind of made me want to explain why I'm pursuing it, because I feel like because of the people, through the years and my experiences, is what led me to pursue it now. And because everyone knows real estate, you make money in real estate, right? But why are people doing it? And so I want to explain why I'm pursuing it now, because the stuff that I'm learning about now is something that I wish I've learned back then. And sorry, there's there's bugs here. And so yeah, so I want to, as much as I want to start in college, it wasn't in college. um, my journey began, let's say, even before that. But in high school I went to construction careers, which was a magnet school that focused on construction. And so in middle school, all these colleges came out, whether it was technology, science, or engineering, business, health, and construction was a new one. And luckily I was selected because it was a lottery. And the reason why I chose construction was because I came from like a poor middle class background family. Like we made, or my parents made like 25, 30, but we usually just based it off my mom's income. So it was just like, you know, less than 30K for raising 3 kids. And so when I noticed my mom working like 2, 3 jobs and she still can't hire a contractor to fix our house, I don't want to go into specifics. I don't want to, you know. Anyways, I chose to pursue construction. Anyway, I got in. I learned the basics, and senior year going into college, one of my professors recommended construction management. Oh my god, this is why it took like two weeks to tell this story. I kept crying a lot. And the one time I think I'm not gonna cry, I end up crying. And anyways, so he recommends construction management, which is what I ended up studying in college. And because he tells me like, oh, you learn a bit about everything. You learn a bit about electrical, plumbing, HVAC, framing, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what I want to learn. And so college, halfway through it, I actually wanted to change majors, but I didn't because coming from a low income family, I was like, I need to stick with it. I need to graduate. I need to obtain my degree in 4 years. And so, when I went through these internships, they were kind of like, I kind of made excuses to why I shouldn't base this experience and make a decision to not pursue it anymore. Because my first experience was, it was an estimating job, and the person I was supposed to be trained under, they moved her to the field, or planning to move her to the field. And before that, there was short staff that they kept putting me into the front desk, answering the phone calls. So I wasn't even learning estimating. And so, anyways, and then this other girl was also new, and they were moving her to Dallas. So it was just not, to me, it wasn't a good experience, and it ended up not working out. And so my next experience was, better, and it was a lot better. But anyways, I kind of figured, like, estimating is not for me. Like, I don't want to be in the office. Maybe the field is more for me. And so, anyways, around, I want to say it was senior year. It was a group of us walking out. I don't remember if it was from like a class. It doesn't even matter. But we're walking out, and this guy, Adrian, he was complaining about his offer letter. And I overheard him telling his friend, he's like, yeah, man, like, they only offer me 50K, 50, 60K. Like, why am I going to work for a company for just 50K when I could be making so much more? And I believe at the time he was doing house flipping. And so my first thought, which is what I thought when I was in high school, I actually wanted to, that was my first real estate plan, was to learn to do house flipping. But when I figured a lot of people were doing it and I didn't know how, I kind of just blew it off. And my mom was like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do it, which I kind of regret listening to her, because if I would have just looked into it, like, anyways, yeah. So when he said that, and he was like, why am I gonna work for 50K, like, my first thought was like, oh my god, this guy is so ungrateful. Like, there's a lot of people here are trying to get offer letters and they still haven't received one, and you're like bragging about yours. And even then, it's like, from someone coming from like a 25, 30K salary, it's like 60K was like awesome to me. Like, that was my goal. And at the same time, it was like, dude, like, did you not look up like the starting salary of this? Like, it didn't make sense to me. So I like kind of just brushed him off, right? I was like, this guy not researched like the starting salary of the degree? Anyways, so remember the story, because I'm gonna come back to it. And so, anyways, my first job out of college, I moved to Colorado. It was so exciting, right? It was like a new place, new city, new state. It was my first apartment by myself, and it wasn't a good experience either. It was exciting. I did learn a lot, but it wasn't what I expected it was gonna be. Like, I knew I had to work long hours and sometimes weekends, because just growing from like going to work with my mom at a younger age, we would go in at like 5 a.m. and come out like at midnight. She did like I want to say catering, but it was something like food display, I don't know. And so working long hours was fine for me. And it wasn't until but I started becoming unmotivated, because they had like this, not only was, there were so many issues, but getting people to like listen to me versus my coworker, who was a male and older. Like, in construction, everyone knows it's a male dominated field. And when you're a young 22-year-old female straight out of college, people tend to not, I want to say value, but like, they won't take you seriously. Versus someone, your coworker who's maybe in his 30s, 40s, whatever. Even if he's in his 20s, like, if you're like, they will listen to more of a male, because they feel like they understand it more. Anyways, so when in my company, they had this women's group. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me learn from these ladies, see how they did it. Let me, somewhere that people that understand what I'm going through. Oh my god. So some people might hate me, but it is what it is. Like, this is where it was another important lesson. I don't know if it's lesson. Anyways, So one of the speakers, she was a superintendent. She was kind of like the star of the show. You know, someone you should admire, and I did admire her. Like, it was awesome to see a woman at that level, because I think she was like the first female in that company to reach to be a superintendent. And so but then she starts talking about her journey, and not just her journey, but like the life that she, like the situations that she is in right now or at the time. And one of the things that stuck out was like, you know, you're gonna, what's it called, this job requires sacrifices, and that requires your vacation. Like, you need to be willing to, you know, drop your vacation at the last minute, the last day, like right before your flight, because your job needs you. And I was like, what? I was like, no, like, what the, especially if it's like a family. I'm like, I don't give a shit if my company is not prepared for me to leave. Like, I'm gonna go. And I could laugh about it now, but like back then, like, it was very hard on me, because I ended up getting fired from this job. And anyways, from like her speaking about her journey, I was just like, oh my god, is this my future? Like, is this what I have to look forward to? Like, and she goes on, and I don't want to like bash her. I don't know, because to her it's, I don't know if it's prideful, but it's like, that's not something I want. Okay, like, I don't want to be traveling everywhere. I want to see my, like, and it wasn't just her. It was just, okay. So I'm gonna be jumping around, but like, it's not just her, but like other people, even my males, higher ups. I asked them, like, you know, their experience, and they'll tell me like, yeah, I'll leave my family for like months, and I'll see them on the weekends, or like maybe 1 week. And it's either that, or they move their families like based on the projects every, like, you know, 2 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And I'm just like, I don't want to be moving everywhere. And I could talk so much about that, but it's, I can't. So, and so, you know, just hearing her speak, I was just like, this is not where I want to be. And so, anyways, not just from her, but it was other people. Oh, all these stories started becoming similar, right? They all, especially the women. So these women were all single. They worked long hours. They took, you know, so much, like, shit. And it's, oh, what else? I basically have no kids, which is, you know, fine if you don't want kids and not, but it's like, it was something that I just didn't want for myself. Anyway, so like, just from that, I kind of started becoming less motivated, and like, I started caring less about my job. And you know, I could talk so much more about this, but anyways, I ended up becoming, I ended up getting burnt out, because we were working long hours, right? We'll start from like 6 a.m. to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and plus, and then working weekends. I'm like, and it's funny, because like, I actually calculated, because I got so upset, right? Because not only like someone young, female, coming into like a construction job like halfway through or towards the end, like, I need to play catch up, right? So I'm spending there, I feel, how do I explain this? Anyways, I end up getting burned out from all the hours and less motivated, because I see my future in these people, and I'm like, that's not what I want to be. And it's not just their futures, it's also their character. So especially in the women, not just the men, but you know, I feel in the women, like I said, they're all single, no kids, always working hard, and just their character was very aggressive. There's a word for it, but I can't say it because people get offended. But it's just that ugly character, something that I'm not, something that I don't want to be, but I know it was someone that I became after I was fired, because I became really harsh. and very snappy and very, yeah, just very ugly. Like I was very blunt, but not in the caring way. I don't know. Like the people close to me know what I'm talking about, because I'm sorry. Also, it was a very ugly experience, and I basically took it out on them. Um, and I didn't have a way to talk about it, because I just invested 4 years of my life studying this, and I just realized it wasn't for me. Because even after when I was fired, I was like, okay, I need to find another job right away. And it wasn't until I realized, I was like, oh my god, like, Liz, like, you already saw your future in these men and women. Like, is this something you really want to pursue, like continue? And it's like, it was a really hard time for me, because also like seeing my counterparts being successful, it's like, man, like the fact that these people could do it and I couldn't, it's like, and all this, like the extra stuff I had to do to like make my resume like stand out, it was just like all the effort that I did. Anyways, it really hit me hard, and I kind of like hid in my shell, and it was very bad. And so around this time, what kind of got me through it was listening to other people's, experiences. And one in particular was a woman, same age, around 22, 23, 21, 22, 23. She just graduated college. She was making 120K a year. She was in politics. I don't remember what exactly, but she was telling the story about, you know, being a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, making 120K like straight off the bat. It's like awesome, right? Like, and it wasn't until there was a security breach or something, like lockdown, security risk. One of the guards handed her a gun for protection, and that's when she realized, like, this is her career, like this is something that is expected of her. And she goes on and on about the details and stuff. But anyways, the point of her story was, it's okay to change careers, and it's okay. And it kind of like helped me get out of my depression a bit. I mean, I was so depressed. Like one story, like listening to one story wasn't gonna change me, right? So that's when I started like researching self-help books. And I never thought I was gonna need it, but watching videos, watching books, watching was kind of started me on this path. That's when I started looking into real estate. Well, no, I lied. So this time I looked up the top 10 books that will change your life forever, something like that. And the book that I'm going to recommend, I won't say that the title now because this isn't the time I read it, but it's the first time I saw it. And it was like one or two or three, the top three. And I didn't have money at the time, so I didn't buy it, even though it was like 10 or 12 bucks at the time. And then the library was checked out for like months. So I kind of went back to my original plan, which, again, halfway through college, I wanted to switch careers. It was film editing. And the only reason why I didn't pursue it back then was because it's also competitive. And I wanted a for sure guaranteed salary, which that's why I stuck with construction. So anyways, I looked back into film editing. I was like, I want to do the things that I want to do, not because my parents expected me. Does that make sense? Like, I want to live the life I want to versus, what my parents expected me. And so I started looking into that, and UT Austin was number 4 of the top schools in the US. So I was like, awesome, I'll go back to Texas, save up money and go to UT. And so when I went back, and I actually got comfortable with my job, because I was making the same amount of money that I was after college. It was around 60K or 50. I was 60K after college. So in this job, I was around 50, 55, I want to say. And so I was like, why did I even go to college in the first place? And so anyways, I got comfortable here for like 2.5 years until someone posted the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I was like, oh my god, like I remember that book. And so at this time, I was actually looking into starting my business in photography because I was inspired by my brother, who was an electrical engineer, and he started electrician. He started his own business, and he started gaining momentum. And I was like, oh, awesome! Like, if he can do it, I can do it. Because growing up, I never thought I was gonna own my own business. Like, I felt like it was too much work, like too many legal stuff, blah blah blah, and I was just afraid to pursue it, right? So I started doing that, and so when I saw like the number one finance book, I was like, that's a book I need to read. So when I looked into it, it was about real estate, and oh my god, this I wish someone would have recommended this book to me sooner and talked about it, because this book is life changing, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so it's about real estate, and it changes your perspective on things that society has taught you to believe, to follow, like go to college, do this, blah blah blah, like if you do this your life is going to be successful, blah blah blah, even though we hear stories about people going to college and can't find a job and blah blah blah. Anyways, so the book talks about becoming financial literate, right? And so the book is about Robert Kiyosaki when he was like 10 years old. He had a rich dad and a poor dad. He had an educated dad who went to college, did all of his stuff, and not educated who didn't even graduate middle school. And so his uneducated dad is actually the rich dad, and the poor dad is actually his educated dad, and he talks about financial literacy. And it's funny because he also mentions like the 5 wealthiest people, at some point in time, or a group of wealthy people. He said something about like it's about financial literacy, right? So these 5 richest people in the business of like the top blah blah blah, and like 20 years, I think, like majority, it wasn't 5, it was like maybe 10, like 5 of them ended up dying broke. Some went to prison, freaking some committed suicide. And so it was like, it's not about the money, it's about financial literacy. And anyways, so this book, again, it's Robert. He's 10 years old. He has rich dad and poor dad. And like in the first chapter, he talks about being he actually made counterfeit money with his best friend unknowingly, and his dad catches him, his biological dad, who is the poor dad, the educated dad. He tells him, son, this is illegal. And he's like, well, dad, how do I make money? He's like, well, honestly, son, like, I don't know how to make money, but you should ask your best friend's dad, because what's it called, we share the same banker, and the banker is always telling him how he's brilliant. He owns like freaking half the real estate of half the businesses in Hawaii. And so him and his best friend goes and talks to his best friend's dad, and he's like, dad, how do I make money? He's like, well, first, I'm not going to tell you exactly, like, step by step. Like, he says, before I even teach you, I need to know if you have the right mindset. That's very important. It's mindset, right? And so he puts them through these trials, and it's crazy because it's stuff that you go through in life, and basically he changes your perspective on things, and it's just like mind-blowing, because you're just like, wow, like, why didn't I think about this? Like, and so right, so he goes through these trials, right? And that's what the book is about, is like all the lessons that he's learned from his rich dad. And so even to this day, like any real estate investor, not agent, they will talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like that's the book that everyone talks about. Like, this is the book that started me out, blah blah blah. And I didn't learn this until I actually started researching the topic. And anyways, so it brought me back to Adrian from college. So I looked him up to see, like, hey, I remember him doing like house flipping, or I wanted to see what he was up now. And turns out he has like 3 apartment complexes. And I was like, what the F? Like, I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Like, and I'm like, the fact that he was able to obtain or succeed, it gave me hope, like, I can do it too. Because we both were at the same spot at one time. Probably not the mindset, because I believe he started when he was 17, I think. I want to say. Anyways, and I didn't know who influenced his life, right? I didn't know his background, but regardless, it was like we were in the same spot. I'm at a point of time, and the fact like he chose this path, I chose this path, and just looking at it now, like I understand what he meant about like what he meant. Like, why am I gonna work for a company for 50K? And you know, and it's true, because now I feel the same way, and I'm trying to like it's funny because I'm trying to like convince other people, or not convince, but like motivate other people to like, you don't need to level up in your career. Like, you don't need to settle for like 3K, 4K, 5K a month. Like think bigger. Like, you could be making, you could like scale up to like 10K, 20K, 30, 50, 250, 500 a month, like a million a month. Like, oh my god, because the more I'm researching, the more like information I'm finding, and the more that I find, it's like the more it is achievable, because I'm learning the strategies, and it's all about strategy. And so another thing that book points out that like really got me thinking was it was like a line. It was about the Romney and an Obama election, and he said, you know, when people found out that Romney was paying less taxes, you know, people got angry, and there's like, why is he not paying? Like, he should be paying more taxes and blah 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 blah. And he says like, they're asking themselves the wrong question. It's like, how is he doing it? Like, why? Like, what? And it was like, just from that sentence was like why didn't I? And you know, people say like loopholes, and I'm like, have you looked into the loopholes? Like, and so basically the strategy is that it's not like they're not paying taxes, like they're different. Oh my god, these bugs. Why did I decide to do this outside? Anyway, so what was I saying? Taxes. Yes, it's not like they're not paying taxes. It's a strategy the government implements. Let me go back. So if the government were to provide real estate, they won't be making money, and they'll be taking a huge risk. So they rather give, you know, the incentive to other people to do it, you know, make housing for other people. And basically they say, if you do this, we'll give you this in return. And this in return is like, you don't pay taxes this year for, you know, supplying the housing, right? And it's not like they're not paying taxes, it's like they're deferring it to the next year. And so it's a strategy where they're just deferring it year after year. And then it's like this whole strategy, and it's something I would like to talk about it, because it's just like, just from that alone, it's like, oh my god, I can talk about this so much. But anyways, so that kind of like blew my mind. I was just like, damn, like no wonder they're like, that's I don't even know how to go with this. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of like where my mindset is right now. And right now I'm starting from like zero, right? So I'm like, if I can just document and like motivate other people to do the, you know, like people like us. And it's funny because, you know, when you start researching all these people that become successful, like they all start from like having nothing. Like they're all like people like us, like people who have like a 9-to-5 job, and they just scale up because they, you know, they change their mindset on stuff. And it's like, oh my god. And so they, you know, they talk about like, you're the average of the 5 people they hang out with, and it's like, oh my god, like who am I hanging out with? Like, anyways, so that's kind of my mindset journey. Yeah, so like, again, watching Adrian, we were at the same spot at one point in time, gives me hope that I can achieve what he has achieved so far, and you know, scale up even more. And so I want to document my journey, my lessons learned, and, you know, hopefully motivate you guys or someone. That way we can start building a community, and we can get out of the rat race, which the book talks about. So yeah, so if you get anything from this video, like, go read, go listen to the podcast, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Like, that is it. That's all I can say. Go listen to it. Go read it. It'll change your life forever. I promise you. Okay, I need to end this video. It's already like 30 minutes long. Did I forget to say anything else? I think that is it. Yeah. Thanks guys for watching. Yeah, I think that is it. Bye.